video going over how you should be building your Squire and how they're useful in Dungeon Defenders 2 currently, particularly in the higher difficulties like Nightmare 4. Currently, Squires are primarily used for one thing, and that is their blockades. This is because of their stat that they can roll on their gear called Hearty blockade. This gives a percentage of your hero health to the health of the blockade, allowing you to get very high levels of health, which you need. Currently, my walls are at 298,000. I have 28% Hearty out of a max of 30. Each item can be max of 5% Hearty on Legendary, 4% on Mythical, and so on. So kind of giving you that basis there of why they're useful directly with blockades, I'll kind of go over what stats you want to be maxing, when you want to be maxing them, and what else you want to be getting on your items. So your two primary stats that you're looking for are hero health and defense health. As you can see on my boots here, I've got both defense health and hero health, which this is kind of pretty much the best boot you can get, except maybe you want some increased movement speed. But this is pretty good for just your blockades. With the interaction with Hearty blockade, up until 23% Hearty blockade, defense health is better. Once you surpass 23%, hero health is better. So as you can see, I've upgraded these boots slightly so that my hero health is 251 compared to the original 240, as that results in more wall health, than it would if I'd upgraded defense health. So you can get Hearty blockade on 6 pieces of gear: your shield, your helmet, your chest piece, your boots, gloves, and relic. On your relic, you want a totem, as this is the type of relic that will drop with defense health. As far as I know, there isn't one that has the primary stat of hero health, so right now this is the best you can get. On your sword, you can't roll Hearty blockade, but there's another stat that you're also looking for called automation. I have automation on my helmet. This gives you your walls a 25% chance to be repaired for 16% of their damage dealt. This automation can be found on the sword, helmet, and relic. I currently only have it on my helmet, but it is something you should be looking out for. I don't know that it's better than, say, a 1% upgrade in Hearty to have automation, but it's still useful and something you should be looking out for. On your sword, you can only roll either hero health or defense health. For me, I was able to find a 700 eye power hero health sword. It started at 471 hero health. At max upgrade level, it's 595. Pretty much the best sword you can get raw stat wise. It's only missing automation, which is unfortunate, but I haven't found anything that even comes close to being better than this currently. And similarly on your shield, you can only roll defense health or hero health, so I've gone again with hero health, and I've upgraded it slightly. Kind of jumping from here, as a secondary stat you're looking for, I've gone over this in other videos, but you want service call on your gloves. This increases your repair speed during combat, which actually helps quite a lot, especially in the harder difficulties when the enemies are doing a lot of damage. This might be the difference between the wall living and the wall dying. And there's also Fing Longer that you can get, which I currently don't have on my Squire's gloves, but this increases your defense interaction range, which is how far you can repair stuff for. So pretty much your ideal pair of gloves would have Service Call, Hearty Blockade, and Fing Longer on them, but that's pretty hard to get. And as you can see here, these are actually a pretty low eye power pair of gloves, and they only have defense health on them. I still have been able to upgrade them, but for Nightmare 4, they're still pretty good because of the 5% Hearty. So going from there, I'll go over my spheres real quick. For small spheres, I've got the single hero health sphere and the 2 defense health spheres, just to increase blockade health. Now for medium, my first one is a 4-second increase in provoke duration. And this doesn't seem that good and until I kind of go over another interaction here, but it is useful. There are other spheres you can use that if you do a lot of tanking, you can do the shield strength sphere, so your shield reduces more damage, or something like your mana regen if you use your abilities a lot. But for me, this currently works the best with how I have my Squire set up. Related to this, I use cooldown reduction. This for my other medium sphere. This kind of goes along with what I'll go over next. So for my large sphere, I use Fight Me Not. This allows your defenses to deal more damage to enemies that are targeting the Squire after you've taunted them. So by increasing my taunt duration and letting myself taunt more, I can actually do more damage to enemies with my defenses when I have my Squire out. Because of this, I actually tend to play my Squire quite a bit because of how taunt works and that I can increase damage to enemies, and if an enemy gets past a wall, I can taunt them away from the core, or if there are a lot of enemies that are beating on a wall and the wall needs to be repaired, and I just can't out-repair, I can taunt them away from the wall. So that's why I choose Fight Me Not personally. I think this is actually a really good sphere. Kind of a close second would be the Vengeance Sphere. This just gives your walls more damage, but I think this is pretty minimal, personally. I didn't see a huge difference with this when I was using it, but I do notice a pretty big difference with Fight Me Not. And finally, for my Uber Sphere, I use Shielding Guard. This just helps your walls survive a little bit longer. There's not really another good Uber Sphere for shields, so this is kind of what you're stuck with. Similar to how I use it on both my Apprentice and my Monk. So finally, I'll go over my stats. As I said before, because I have over 23% Hearty, I've chosen to max hero health, and secondary, I've chosen to max defense health. So now, outside of just the obvious of the usefulness of their barricades, I'm going to kind of go over a little bit of how I use Squires in an actual game. As I mentioned with Fight Me Not and Taunt, there's a lot of interesting things you can do with that, and it's actually very helpful. I've saved games quite a few times when a boss or an ogre has walked past, particularly on Life Root. I actually kind of need it to taunt things for my build in Nightmare 4 to kind of guarantee success. And in addition, you have Seismic Slam, your third ability, which does this. It stuns enemies in an area around you, which helps if there's a bunch of, say, the Lady Orcs bunched up on a wall. You can stun them and repair, because a lot of times they'll be doing so much damage you can't out-repair that, particularly in Nightmare 4. That's a pretty good way to give yourself some breathing room. As well as it synergizes with the Apprentice's Frost Tower and Freezing Sphere, that when an enemy is frozen, you can Seismic Slam and it'll instantly shatter enemies. And that also helps a lot with Lady Orcs or the big orcs that bunch up on the walls, or dragons or mages. It doesn't one-shot special enemies, but it'll still stun special enemies, so it's really pretty useful. I think Squire's overlooked quite a bit in Nightmare 4 currently. A lot of people figure they just build walls and then use their Huntresses for DPS, but I think there's quite a bit of utility you can get out of your Squire, particularly since, as you can see, I have 22,000 health on my Squire, so my Squire is pretty tanky. He won't take a whole lot of damage, or, well, I'll still take damage, but I'll be able to live through it. And in Nightmare 4, that's pretty big, because on any of my other characters, I pretty much get one shot by just about anything. But I can tank 2 or 3 hits, sometimes more, depending on my Squire. So that's just kind of a brief rundown of how to play Squire. I'll be doing some gameplay videos of showing you how I use my Squire in Nightmare 4, particularly with some of my builds, like Life Root and Dragonfall Incursion in the future. But if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them and I will get back to you.